behalf of Shri Mahavidyalaya Shikshan Prasarak Mandals, Shri Kumarswami College Ausa, I heartily welcome all the honorable dignitaries and participants here on the virtual platform for the national webinar on the topic Looking Beyond the Horizon, Global Supply Chains in Post-Pandemic World. As you know very well, the college has been conducting a long series of national and international webinars on the occasion of the Golden Jubilee year of the institution. The theme of webinar series is Women Empowerment and Dignity and Environmental Conservation. The objectives of webinar series are to exchange knowledge, to enrich knowledge, and to have intellectual discussions among the participants on various topics, to find out answers to questions and solutions to problems, so that these can help individuals, the society and the nation. The webinar series has become very successful, and it is due to the innovative management of the chief organizer and chairperson of this webinar series, Honorable Principal Dr. M. Ambedkar sir, and moral encouragement from the institution. I welcome Honorable Principal Dr. M. Ambedkar sir as the chairperson of this webinar. Today I am very pleased to welcome the dignitary Honorable Sameen Patel ma'am from Rajeev Gandhi College of Management Studies. Honorable speaker is going to enlighten us on the topic, as I stated before, Looking Beyond the Horizon, Global Supply Chain in Post-Pandemic World. On behalf of the organizing committee of webinar series, I welcome you ma'am as the keynote speaker. I also welcome all honorable dignitaries, organizing committee members, Vice Principal SD Misal sir, Junior College Supervisor Ravindra Karanje sir, MCVC Coordinator Praveen Udge sir, IQAC Coordinator Dr. Sanjay Kale sir, Dr. Anita Dhole ma'am, Dr. Sudhir Garad sir, Ambadas Khillare sir, Dr. Wadkar sir, and Dr. Patwari sir. We all have gathered here on the virtual platform to listen the keynote speech by the chief guest. But before that, I would like to invite Dr. Anita Dhole ma'am for the introduction of today's keynote speaker. Please ma'am, welcome. Are you listening ma'am? Dhole ma'am?
Sorry, आता येतो सर आवाज?
हा येतो.
overnight. So most recently जो variants आए हैं, which are Omicron and AHU variants, they have proven to be the most disruptive ones. Now, although these variants, they potentially represent weakening of the virus and start of the post-pandemic world, governments जो है, they may continue to use the restrictions and lockdowns to control their spread. So this is especially true in countries that remain committed to zero COVID strategy. Now, with all this in mind, what adaptations may your business need to make its supply chain management strategies to minimize the future disruption? When we talk about this, I would now like to throw some light on the supply chains post COVID-19 and what is India's role in it. So when we talk about this, the first thing that I would like to say is that COVID-19, we need to accentuate the weak links. We need to make prominent what are the weak points that India is facing. So now when we talk about it, the supply chains, they need to get a makeover with this crisis. Supply chains जो है वो बहुत rigid है, पहले से हम वही follow करते आ रहे हैं, but due to this pandemic, we need to make changes in it, right? So global production networks, they are historically designed to take advantage of resource availability जो भी होता है, customer proximity और जो cost arbitrage होता है, या you can take the combination of all these factors. Now other factors such as geographical distance, you could say social, cultural and political factors were less likely to influence the business decisions when compared to economics. Now in the years leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic, जो supply chain जो हमारा था around the world were already under pressure due to turbulent geopolitical situations, right? Then we had heightened consumer shipping and हमारे जो availability expectations था consumer का, they also have risen to a greater extent, and the rapid adoption of e-commerce. E-commerce was playing a very important role. और जो companies है around the world, the companies around the world were dependent on China. As we all know that China is the world factory, right? To keep the global economy moving. The countries around the world were dependent on China क्योंकि वो world factory है, so that the global economy, it keeps on moving. Now, given the country's position at the epicenter of the pandemic, हम सबको पता है that जो COVID आया है, China is basically the epicenter of the pandemic. So because of which there was a massive worldwide dismantling of the supply chains. So इसकी वजह से क्या हुआ है? The risk of supply chain disruption is also clearly reflected in the mindset of CEOs. As you all can see on the screen, I have mentioned some percentage. So the risk of supply chain disruption जो है is also clearly in the mindset of CEOs globally. Now जो KPMG है, KPMG company, उसने एक survey conduct किया था wherein they have come up with that कि जो supply chain risk है has moved up the agenda from its 9th place. Right, 9th place position at the beginning of the year, and now it occupies the 2nd place, is a major strategic focus area. So जो CEOs in India है, they also have the view that the supply chain risk as a major concern. They have a supply chain risk. So CEOs in India है, they also agree that जो हमारा supply chain है, it is at a greater risk. Okay, so the number of CEOs in India highlighting this as a critical risk have risen 5-fold times on the onset of pandemic. So because of which, as you all can see, 67% CEOs globally and 64% CEOs in India, they have actually cited the need of reinventing their existing supply chains as a result of the pandemic. Okay, now let's move to the next point. But moving to the next point, I would like to add one more thing. Okay, as we all think, or as the common people think, कि अब China will not come up, right? But China will still remain important. So driven by its legacy, China का जो legacy है, the advantages of the favorable business policies that they have the best-in-class infrastructure, or you can say the abundant availability of skilled and affordable labor, and a vibrant technological ecosystem है उनका. Because of which China is also expected geopolitical rebalancing. वो वापस रीबैलेंस कर रहा है पोस्ट कोविड-19, and it is also expected to remain one of the most popular destinations for foreign direct investments. even after the expositions, तो even after the pandemic, वहाँ पर FDI होगा, उसका एक्सटेंट अभी भी हाई ही होगा, राइट? बिकॉज ऑफ विच जो हमारी इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स है, से इंडिया हो गया या जो भी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज है, दे स्टिल हैव अ प्लेस टू ग्रो, राइट? सो the emerging markets to reset the supply chains that are disrupted by the pandemics, global and regional supply chain flows, and the alternative suppliers and modes of transport they need to examine according to the trade-offs or needs of cost or various other factors. Now moving to the next point, which is the India replacement opportunity. Abhi when we talk about India's replacement opportunity, यहाँ पे what you can say is, despite the prevailing uncertainty, जो uncertainty अब हम face कर रहे हैं because of the pandemic, or you can say despite the prevailing uncertainty around the next normal, what I said in the first slide, which is the next normal or the new normal, there is still a consensus that the supply chains are likely to become more diversified. Okay, हम change लाना चाह रहे हैं and we want our supply chains to change. We want it to get diversified to medium to long term. Now India is faced with the opportunity. India has the opportunity to attract companies for whom supply chain relocation has become a top priority in the wake of COVID-19. Okay, so the country's favorable business environment, since we all know India का जो business environment है, it is quite favorable. So because of which the country has favorable business environment, we have liberal FDI norms. FDI अगर आपको कोई foreign country invest करना चाहती है तो we have favorable liberal FDI norms and emerge as a global manufacturing hub. India जो है, it is emerging to be a top contender to emerge as a global manufacturing hub. Now India, as you all can see on the screen, India actually leads in attracting FDI within the region. Now if we talk about 2019, while Asia was the world's largest FDI recipient, accounting for 30% of share of global inroads, India was the largest FDI recipient in South Asia, excluding China. अगर आप China को exclude कर देते हो तो India का जो था FDI recipient, India was on top. Okay, so the country's FDI flows grew by 20% year on year in 2019. Fine. Now infrastructure, there has been you can say sustained efforts by Indian government. Indian government is making a continuous effort and private enterprises are also making an effort to leverage FDI to build the productive assets. Fine. Now when we talk about productive assets, we also include infrastructure for economic development. Fine. Now here we can see that we examine the reasons that have led to this greater attention from foreign investors. If we provide them all the facilities, it is only then that the foreign investors are going to invest in our country, right? Now mentioning about the infrastructure, as I mentioned, कि हम जो हमारा, you can say the government, you say, or the private enterprises, they are also concentrating on infrastructure for economic development. Now when I talk about infrastructure has actually received the much deserved attention. Okay, now it has concentrated push to develop infrastructure projects, including you say road connectivity आप बोल दीजिए, या you say port modernization, right? Port modernization भी हो रहा है. We have greater road connectivities. Now India has actually ranked 44th in 2018 globally, right? Now talking about other things, one of the largest transportation networks in India. India has the largest transportation networks. We have the second largest road network. We have the second largest rail network. We have the seventh largest civil aviation market. Now when talking about this, other important factors that are enabling are also in place. Now other factors, जब हम बोल सकते हैं कि इंडिया अपना जो पोस्ट कोविड है या इंडिया हब कैसे बना सकता है, जो कंपनीज दे आर एक्चुअली सर्चिंग फॉर देयर प्रोडक्शन हाउसेस टू सेट अप इन इंडिया. तो जो अदर फैक्टर्स है, दे आर इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज it is the second most widely spoken language after Hindi in India. Now, as per if you say 2011 census, you can say while a relatively small number of of people claimed English as their mother tongue, maximum जो people है in India, as we are the literacy levels are increasing, maximum people in India, they are moving towards speaking English, right? Now there are some small challenges which still persist in India. Now when I say small challenges क्या है? That India offers global investors a large and attractive market. As I have already mentioned, we have enormous consumers. Consumer base जो है इंडिया में, population ज़्यादा है, consumer base भी बहुत ज़्यादा है. Now because of which India offers global investors a large and attractive market to a sizable demographic advantage and vibrant private sector. We offer our investors all these things. Now, however, there are also challenges that remain in country's path to achieving its stated potential. Now, two of the most well cited are inadequate and underdeveloped infrastructure and stifling bureaucracy. As we all know, हम infrastructure improve करने के way में हैं, but we are not still a developed country, right? तो हमारा जो सबसे बड़ा drawback है, the most important drawback that India is facing is the underdeveloped and inadequate infrastructure and the stifling bureaucracy. Now, as mentioned, infrastructure spending is receiving focused attention from the government. Government is focusing on developing our infrastructure. पर ये जो सब चीजें हैं ये होने के लिए वक्त लगता है. ड्यू टू पैंडेमिक जो है, इकोनॉमिक स्लोडाउन के वजह से ये सब चीजें दे आर ऑन अ हॉल्ट नाउ. Now global investors have been wary of complex regulatory guidelines, right? That not just commerce but most aspect of individual and business activity. But फिर भी इंडिया का जो गवर्नमेंट है, they are actually providing a lot of benefits to the global investors, because of which इंडिया में अभी भी काफी इन्वेस्टर्स हैं who are interested in investing. Now moving to the India's competitive advantage, a sectoral perspective. Now as you all can see on the screen, I have mentioned 4 sectors, which is automotive and auto components, telecom, chemicals and pharmaceutical. Now I would like to explain all these sectors और इंडिया क्या रोल प्ले करेगा in supply chain in short. Okay. Now one thing that I would like to mention is that there was a recent report by Cushman and Wakefield wherein India stood third, only behind China and US in the global manufacturing risk index rankings, which was taken in 2020. तो यहाँ पर जो था in this you can say in this survey or in this report, basically what was done is it assessed the most suitable locations for global manufacturing, जिसमें इंडिया जो है it was third after China and US, right? So with this context, there are more specific industries in India that are relatively better positioned to emerge as attractive and viable alternative locations in supply chain. As I said, yeah, global manufacturing जो index है उसमें तो India rank third, but there are other industries also in India, present in India, जहाँ पे India could actually make a mark. Now moving to the automotive industries. Now when I talk about automotive industry, it is shifting to a higher gear, right? So the automotive industry, as you all can see on the screen, it is the 4th largest in the world, and it has strong domestic potential with turnover expected to grow by over 2 times by 2026, and R&D centers of excellence, incentives for electric vehicle manufacturing. As we all know, अभी e-vehicles are in a boom. बहुत सारे लोग, or you can say the market is full of e-vehicles now. I know that there are certain drawbacks, but still e-vehicles are in boom. So what are the growth drivers of automotive and auto components industry? Now, while multiple policy they resets in the country, there is abrupt diesel ban, you can say, and there is more focus on EVs. As I said, EVs जो है electric vehicles पे ज़्यादा focus दिया है. There are adoption of shared mobility options and other market related factors such as you can say fluctuations in interest rate, yeah, you can say there is reduced liquidity, right? And all these things they have slowed down in the automotive sales. Pandemic की वजह से जो हमारा automobile या you can say the automotive sales they have reduced a lot since everyone was focusing to fulfill their regular needs, their day-to-day needs. And when we talk about automotives, they are a sort of luxury. So the factors that or the growth factors of automotive industries are development of India as a manufacturing base. Now the plan basically here is to seek to promote the advancement of the auto ancillary जो parts होते हैं ancillary sectors ecosystem in India, right? You can say there has to be adjacent industries. When we talk about automotive industry, adjacent industry क्या हो सकता है? It could be aerospace, defense हो गया, agriculture machinery are also evolving into promising new market for Indian auto component manufacturers. Now, when we talk about automotive, there are certain brands. There are certain brands like you can say BMW, Mercedes, Benz, Ford, or you can say Fiat, Nissan. These are the brands that have located their international procurement offices in India. These are the international brands which have located their international procurement offices in India. When we say South Korean automotive manufacturer, as we all know, everyone must have heard the name Kia Motors. It has recently invested in setting up its state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Andhra Pradesh, from where जो Kia Sonet है, Kia Sonet जो कार है उनकी, which is the company's latest made in India product. Okay, so it would be exported to various global markets. ये जब Kia Sonet जो है, when it will be exported to various global markets, यहाँ पे इंडिया का रोल प्ले होगा on how it's actually helping the global supply chain in post-COVID-19 period. Right? Apart from this, Kia has already launched its first made in India SUV. Okay? Apart from Kia Seltos, Kia Sonet, it has also launched the made in India SUV, which is the Seltos, and it has started its plant in Andhra, as I have already mentioned. Now, India's autotech startups. Okay, जो ऑटोटेक स्टार्टअप्स होते हैं, जो न्यू कंपनीज है, स्मॉल कंपनीज, दे आर थ्राइविंग हब्स फॉर कटिंग एज एडवांसेस इन ऑटोमोटिव टेक्नोलॉजी, एंड इंडिया इज द कंट्री विच इज द सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट R&D सेंटर इन द ऑटोमोटिव इंडस्ट्री अक्रॉस द ग्लोब. इंडिया का जो R&D है, इट इज टू गुड, इट इज टू ह्यूज, इट स्टैंड्स सेकेंड in the automotive industry across the globe. Now moving to chemicals. Now when I talk about chemicals, it is an attractive alchemy. As you all can see, it is the 6th largest in the world. India ranks 14th in global chemicals export. Again, export हो रहा है, supply chain comes into play. Then we have specifically designated regions, sector, parks, and COEs. Fine. Talk about chemicals. Now, chemicals export from India cover all the major markets. It covers all the major markets, and one of the largest petrochemical players, Reliance India Limited, has established almost a dozen petrochemical manufacturing plants all over India. As we all know, कि Reliance जो है, it has established almost a dozen petrochemical manufacturing plants all over India. Now there are various key policies, initiatives which are actually involved in chemicals. As I can say that it is actually chemicals is a de-licensed and regulated industry where up to 100% FDI is permissible. When we talk about chemicals, 100% FDI is permissible in the Indian chemical industry through the automatic route, जहाँ पे manufacture होता है of most chemical products, including organic chemicals, you can say, inorganic chemicals, dyestuffs and pesticides is de-licensed. There is growing chemicals infrastructure. जो chemical infrastructure है वो grow हो रहा है. In India, there is setting up of various plastic parks to to synergize capacities and improve efficiencies. We have world-class institutes like IITs, ICT, then IISc. We have chemical sector employees, and which employs over 2 million people. Okay. Now moving to the, you can say, we'll move to pharmaceutical now. As you all can see on the screen, it is the third largest in the world. Pharmaceutical industry is third largest in the world. It holds 20% of the global generics market share. It is highest in the world. Now when we move to pharmaceutical industry, India के context में जब हम बात करते हैं, तो the Indian pharmaceutical industry is the world's third largest in terms of volume. Volume के terms में it is third largest, and it is 13th largest in terms of value. Fine. तो जो pharmaceutical industry in India, it was valued around $50 billion in 2019 and 20. Now India's presence transcends the value chain. India का जो pharmaceutical companies है, they are actually leading everywhere. Now if we talk about pharmaceutical companies, we can mention Cipla Limited. जब हम Cipla की बात करते हैं, और you can say Dr. Reddy's Laboratories and Sun Pharmaceutical Industries are just few where India pharmaceutical companies जिन्होंने अपना globally mark बनाया है. Okay, these are the companies: Cipla Limited, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, and Sun Pharmaceutical. These companies, they have actually made their mark globally. Now among these players, if I say, जो Sun Pharmaceutical Industry है, it is the largest by revenue. Sun Pharmaceutical is largest by revenue, and it has its manufacturing locations spread across US, Japan, Australia. Now these are some of the things which I would like to mention in pharmaceuticals. Now growth drivers क्या हो सकते हैं? When we talk about supply chain, we need to know what are the growth drivers of this particular industry. Fine. Now many of the India's recent policy announcements support the growth of pharmaceutical sector. Again, जैसे मैंने chemical में mention किया था, FDI जो policy था chemical इसमें, it was 100%, right? तो यहाँ पर भी under automatic route, you can have 100% FDI for greenfield and 70% for FDI brownfield projects. Fine. We have new policy for clinical trials. As we all know, pharmaceutical है, तो clinical trials होंगे. So here you can mention that the government has notified the new drugs and clinical trials. There are certain rules to streamline the clinical trials regulation in India, and wherein we can provide faster approvals. Okay. Now let's move to funding for domestic production. Funding कैसे होगा? अगर आप pharmaceutical industry का बात करते हो, so how will the funding be done? So the government announced establishment of three bulk drug parks. Okay, गवर्नमेंट बहुत सारी चीजें कर रहा है जिसके वजह से इंडिया सप्लाई चेन में कंट्रीब्यूट कर सके, एक प्रॉपर हब बन सके, राइट? Then apart from this, जो growth drivers हैं और pharmaceutical industry is fast track clearance. Fast track clearance कैसे होगा? यहाँ पे जो bulk drug production होता है projects in the country, they have been a fast track to increase the domestic production. Fast track अगर हम निकालते हैं products, so there can be increased production. Also there has been a notification issued such as the environment impact assessment report is no longer required for project clearance. Now moving to the fourth sectoral perspective, which is telecom. Now when I talk about telecom and supply chain, you all can relate with it. Global जो हमारा pandemic आया था, उसमें हमारा telecom ही था which helped us throughout the pandemic, right? So as you all can see on the screen, it is the second largest global market for smartphones and telecommunications. India has second highest number of internet users. Apart from this, the promotion of electronic components through an incentive of 25% on capex. Now talking about the telecom sector, recovery comes calling. You can say that recovery comes calling. Now while the lockdown brought much of the economy to halt, हमारी जो economy था, it came to a halt. So it has created new demand for communication services. You say work from home आप कह लीजिए, या you say home entertainment. These are just two such examples. Now telecom has therefore not been impacted as dramatically by COVID-19 compared to many other areas of economy. As we all know, telecom पे इतना effect नहीं हुआ है as compared to other areas of the economy. On the supply side, however, if we talk about thinking from the supply side, from a handset and network equipment manufacturing perspective, जो global disruption in supply chain है and the suspension has certainly affected the telecom sector in India. Now, if we talk about, however, the recent financial incentives in the telecom sector which were announced by the government have managed to attract the leading smartphone manufacturing companies towards establishing their manufacturing bases in India. Now here you can say, I can give an example over here, is that a Globe mobile manufacturing firm is finalizing plans to set up its first factory in India this year. Fine. Now when we talk about telecom sector, क्या होता है telecom sector का growth drivers? Okay, so as we all know, India has plenty of enabling factors that should prove attractive to foreign investors. As we all know, develop होगा country only when we have FDIs getting it. So जो चीज ऐसे factors हैं that are attractive to foreign investors, considering the country as a destination for their manufacturing plants. So what you can say is over here is that 268 mobile and mobile component manufacturing units are set up across the country. We have subsidy of 20% in SEZs, okay, 25% in non-SEZs. We are providing, India is actually providing subsidies to the global investors to invest in India. We have state incentives. When we talk about telecom sector, state incentives provide होता है. We have stamp duty exemption, we have electricity duty exemption, there are various other things along with the concessional rate of basic customs duty on import. There are various export incentives that are actually given to the telecom global investors. Now apart from this, when we evaluate the way forward, now I have completed this part which is India's competitive advantage. Thinking about the sectoral perspective, now apart from this, if we think about how can we evaluate the way forward, now the global production networks, whatever I have talked about, all the supply chain, all the sectors, क्या होना चाहिए, what we need to accentuate on, or how can India actually improve its sectoral perspective. ये सारी चीजें जो हैं, the global production networks are actually very complex. It is sophisticated, interdependent, सारी चीजें एक दूसरे के ऊपर dependent है, and deeply entrenched, making configuration a challenging task. Okay, now depending on the individual business circumstances and priorities, it is wholly the part of the organization कि वो क्या choose कर रहा है to drive specific and relatively less complex cost optimizing supply chain initiatives. As we all know that जो organizations हैं, they want to change their supply chain, right? I have mentioned this in the start of the session that the organizations want to change the supply chain, but it should also be cost effective, right? So depending upon that cost optimization के according, the supply chain initiatives or dig deep and completely overhaul the network. These are all the things that need to be done by the companies in India. Now, there are certain things that need to be done. One thing which I would like to mention is reshoring. Okay. Now, when we talk about reshoring, this move will result in higher usage of value addition. Okay. Geographically,
excuse me, slides are not moving. It's stable one. Supply chain post pand COVID-19.
Yes, sir. I have not. I have not changed the slide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Okay. Now, when we talk about this, here when we talk about reshoring, यहाँ पे it will result in higher usage of value addition, जो geographically concentrate करेगा, leading to shorter supply chains in general. When we have shorter supply chains, it will increase the efficiency of the companies, right? Industry का efficiency increase होगा when we have shorter supply chains. We can make regionalization. When we talk about regionalization, this move will see a transition from global efficiency seeking investment to regional market seeking investment. We can talk about replication. We can do replication. Now, when we talk about replication, this move will create multiple hub and spoke models and regional processing centers. There should be diversification. Diversification will be led by focus on greater supply chain digitalization, characterized by platform-based asset-light models. The share of value addition will in the host country will remain relatively small. Now, when we talk about evaluating the, adding a few more points and then I'll stop. In addition to this, after pandemic induced disruption, pandemic की वजह से disruption हुआ है in supply chain. Moving supply chains, जो future में supply chains बनते हैं, they should gain prominence, which is where technology could play a vital role. Basically, अगर आप supply chain create कर रहे हो, if CEOs are planning to change their supply chain, so the supplies should be technologically strong. Okay, we should gain prominence, which is where technology could play a vital role. Implementing new technologies allows for the coexistence of digital enablers and humans across the different supply chain process and activity. It can help achieve twin goal of supply chain management, reducing complexity as well as uncertainty. Yeah. Now moving to the conclusion, a few more points to add. Now with the outbreak of COVID-19, global supply chains were actually were swiftly and effectively dismantled as one country after another went into lockdowns. So global supply chain था, it actually came under disruptions क्योंकि सारे countries one after one they were going into lockdown. The crisis exploded the reliance of the businesses around the world on a few markets for fulfilling their manufacturing and sourcing requirements. Now supply chain leaders जो हैं, they are reassessing their new realities and trying to forecast what the future may bring. As I said, कि जो new normal है, it is not going anywhere. It is the most continued evolution in supply chains. तो supply chains हमारा जो है, जो बनेगा नया supply chain जो बनेगा, it will be according to what is required in the future. So this means working with current supply chain to improve efficiency and security of supplies, while also finding new suppliers and routes that allow diversification in time of crisis. So that was it from my side. Thank you everyone.
Karad sir.
Thank you, ma'am,
Okay.
for your elaborate keynote speech on the topic Looking Beyond the Horizon, Global Supply Chains in Post-Pandemic World. Now after this informative keynote speech, now questions and doubts of the participants are welcome. Please participants.
Madam, good evening. This is Badiuddin Ahmad.
Once again I request
This is Badiuddin Ahmad from
yes sir,
Hyderabad.
welcome.
It is very interesting topic, supply chain management. Whether it is COVID or post-COVID or non-COVID situation, this has to be considered as a very, very important in any of the sectors of the economy. Also, how can we make the smooth supply chain management system in India? Because the very lacuna in Indian economy in most of the sectors is supply chain management. Because of the poor supply chain mechanism, most of the times delays are happening in the completion of projects. What is your take on this, madam?
Yes sir, as I have mentioned, India का जो supply chain है, it is not that developed because हमारा जो infrastructure है, the infrastructure is not that developed. Since we don't have a developed infrastructure, we have the what you can say, we have the resources, but we don't have them in place. Because of which, अगर हम हमारा infrastructure develop करते हैं, as I have mentioned that India has the second largest rail network, road network, and it has the seventh largest air network. Because of which we don't have it in place, इसकी वजह से हमारा जो supply chain है, it is not that developed. And as I have said, जो starting का मेरा slides था, where I have mentioned कि हमारे जो CEOs हैं, जो survey हुआ था by KPMG, वहाँ पे we have mentioned that 64% of Indian CEOs, they are of the opinion that जो हमारा supply chain है, it needs change.
It's always identification अलग है मैडम, लेकिन implementation part वही India big. I do agree because I am a teacher of management and supply chain management area, whereas there has been lot of even cry for quite long time. people जो आपने बताया कमियां बताई हैं आप, जो बिल्कुल सही है, that's there on fact. लेकिन ये कब तक रहेंगी कमियां? We have been called one of the industrialized countries having lot of high tech in technology, having all this aspect. Why we are lagging the infrastructural development के नाम पे हम कब तक रोते रहेंगे मैडम? That's what. Is there any such robust mechanism? Is there any fast track system where we can really make up this shortfall and be on the competitive world? In this competitive world, we can also compete.
So as of now in India, we need to have patience. Since it is a developing country, we cannot expect a robust mechanism to actually solve the problems.
So how long you call economic developing? मैडम, it's 75 years. हम तो अभी 75 years Diamond Jubilee मना रहे हैं, and we can't afford to call as developing nation. Small countries, yesterday also I discussed saying the small countries, they are not taking lead actually in this area. We having a very excellent human resource in India. Can't we have such a mechanism which can really be developed so that we can be a very produce exportable surplus through good supply chain mechanism? We can export a lot and earn foreign exchange for our country, which is badly needed.
Yes, sir, correct. I agree with you.
So, as an academician or as an export in supply chain area, could you just suggest one or two important area where we need to improve upon?
So as I have mentioned again, I'll say the same thing. It is basically the infrastructure and the rigidity that we have in our supply chain.
The infrastructure comes many things, in telecom sector. You can have a
Yes, I have already mentioned the 4 sectors that are actually bringing in the supply chain betterment in country. I have mentioned the 4 sectors, right, which is the automobile one. I have mentioned the telecom sector. I have mentioned chemicals and pharmaceutical.
So these 4 sectors will really make big difference in economy?
Yes, of course they will.
What about manufacturing sector, madam? Manufacturing sector?
Yes, of course, manufacturing also. When we talk about these sectors, it is but obvious that they are the sectors wherein kuch na kuch manufacturing will be done. Right?
But manufacturing
if we talk about automobile, as I have mentioned, automobile का manufacturing plant यहाँ पे set up हुआ है in Andhra, right? Where we have the global investors coming in. तो जब global investor manufacturing के लिए यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं, तो it is but obvious कि manufacturing sector it gets included in it.
So many companies, अभी 2025 तक तो हमारे सब all the because of the good market, all the international global companies are looking at our economy. So government speed up instead of giving importance to some other areas, and most of the things are getting into private hands. Okay, let it be private hands में रहने दीजिए, मगर ask them to improve upon this supply chain and other weak areas so that we can develop economy. Because ultimately we cannot call it our developing nation. अभी 75 या 100 साल तक भी ऐसी बोलते रहेंगे मैडम. हमारे से आगे निकल जा रहे हैं countries, बहुत सारे countries, छोटे countries. तो मेरी concern क्या है, as an Indian, we need to do some concerted efforts by both the private sector and public sector, and can do sincere efforts for making whatever shortfalls in supply chain or other areas to make our economy developed economy instead of developing an economy. That's my submission.
Yes, sir.
मेरा वही बोलना था मेरा. That's my personal opinion. Maybe people may differ with me, but I have my own perception as economic conditions showing us that this is the trends are going on very. Even Bangladesh and Maldives, their GDP was quite good during COVID, where we were gone down by 24% negative. So that is a very pathetic condition, being such a big economy.
Correct. Yes.
So that needs concern. we as academicians and all people, stakeholders should take some sort of initiative. If we can contribute to the government, to the other people, that you need to develop, as you rightly mentioned, infrastructure about efficiency. So we can rightly write them, can really make them aware that this is the area we need to improve. Otherwise, we cannot develop another 100 years also.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Is there anybody else? Please.
Hello. Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
मैम जो सप्लाई चेन है इसमें एक ड्राइवर की सर्वोपरि भूमिका होती है, इसमें मैं प्रथम स्थान पर ड्राइवर को मानता हूँ। आप चैन सप्लाई के अनुसार ड्राइवर को किस दृष्टि से देखते हैं? आम जनता उसको एक सबसे छोटा और सबसे गलत नज़र से ड्राइवर को देखा जाता है, लेकिन मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि अगर ड्राइवर नहीं है तो दुनिया रुक जाएगी। आप ड्राइवर को किस दृष्टि से देखते हैं चैन सप्लाई के अनुसार?
इट इज बट ऑब्वियस कि ड्राइवर जो होगा ही प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, बिकॉज इफ ही इज नॉट देयर आपका जो लॉजिस्टिक्स है वो कैसे कंप्लीट होगा, करेक्ट? सो इट इज बट ऑब्वियस दैट ड्राइवर जो है वो एक मेजर रोल प्ले करेगा इन द एंटायर सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट।
सर्वोपरि नहीं माना जा सकता ड्राइवर को विश्व का?
सर देखिए, जब आप कोई बहुत बड़े व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट सप्लाई चेन, तो कोई एक चीज को आप इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं दे सकते हो। कोई चीज अगर साथ में चलेगी तो सारी चीजें उतनी ही इक्वली इम्पोर्टेंस रखती है।
थैंक यू।
या
Any more question from anybody? The keynote speech was very illustrative. All the aspects related with the topic have been cleared by the Honorable Ma'am, and also the questions which were asked by Honorable Dr. Badiuddin Sir and Javir Sir. To the answers of those questions, we got lot of information. So after this fruitful keynote speech and question answer session, now I would like to request the chief organizer and chairperson of this webinar series, Honorable Principal Dr. M. Ambedkar Sir, for his concluding words. Please sir, welcome.
Thank you, Professor Karad sir, and today's resource person,
Welcome.
Professor Sameen Patel madam, our Vice Principal SD Misal sir, IQC Coordinator Sanjay Kale sir, Dr. Professor Sanjay Kale sir, Dr. Anita Dhole madam, Dr. Dayanand Patwari, Dr. Anil Wadkar, both the supervisors Karanje sir and Udge sir, Prashant Ugade sir, Jamuntrao Kadam sir, Professor K.N. Kadam sir, जलवीर सर और हमारे डेली क्वेश्चन आस्क करने वाले बदुद्दीन अहमद सर, विद्यासागर सर. Today's topic was related to management and Badiuddin sir also discussed very nicely. As we are knowing that in the pandemic every sector is affected and one of them is food, supply chain. So which sectors are affected, how we are overcoming this, where India is lagging or where India is leading, what are the obstacles, how it is affecting our GDP, and how we are covering. So all these aspects of economic, those who are supportive to economy of our country, and also how the world is affected by this, all this detail explained by our today's resource person Sameen Patel madam. And I think all participants shall understand all these things, and those who are from management and commerce section, they have understood very nicely. So thank you madam for accepting our request. It was a new topic for me also, because it's a new topic in the management and this section, and you delivered the talk today. Thank you from all participants. Please wait for the formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of organizing committee of webinar series, I am here to present vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank today's honorable dignitary and keynote speaker, Sameen ma'am, who has delivered a nice lecture on the topic and cleared every aspect in simple, lucid and clear language so that all the participants can understand it very well. So I thank you ma'am for sparing your precious time and delivering the keynote speech. I also thank Honorable Chief Organizer and Chairperson of this webinar series. It goes without saying that he works continuously to make this webinar series. And we can understand it from the fact that till today, near about 600 webinars have been completed by him. And so we could enrich our knowledge and can share our knowledge. So I thank you, sir, for your ambitious project and attempt. I also thank all the honorable participants for joining webinars punctually, listening patiently, and taking active part in the question answer session. As today we have seen Dr. Badiuddin sir and Javier sir both have taken active part in the question answer session. So thank you participants. I also thank Dr. Anita Dole ma'am for giving introduction of today's honorable keynote speaker. And now I request participants, please fill feedback link so that you can have your certificate. And at the end, with the permission of Chief Organizer and Chairperson of this webinar series, I announce here that today's webinar is over. Thanks to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam. Madam, you have fantastically delivered the lecture. Very, very useful for the people who belong to science, commerce. It is a general subject. And thank you, Dr. Bedkar Saab. You are bringing excellent speakers. You know, I can't have a word to appreciate you, sir. बहुत अच्छा आप स्पीकर लेकर आ रहे हैं.
आपका सहयोग है इसलिए हम आगे चल रहे हैं. आप सभी के लिए काम हो रहा है तो सभी सुन रहे हैं. अच्छे रिसोर्स पर्सन हैं.
Actually, I was traveling. I just stopped my vehicle and I was comparing. If I don't start with my mobile phone, I would have missed. Today that's what I was. They started from my university. Thank you so much, sir. We will look forward further good lectures from you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
I will send you the YouTube link today to you.
Dr. Khaled, sir. Thank you, madam. Full presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zahir sir, and all the participants. Thank you.